you trust your memories. You think you know exactly what happened on your best days and your absolute worst. You can picture the faces, hear the voices, and feel the exact emotions you felt in that very moment. It feels completely real. It feels like you are watching a high-definition recording stored safely on the hard drive of your brain. But you shouldn't trust it. Modern neuroscience reveals a deeply unsettling reality. Your brain isn't a video camera. It is a storyteller, and it is constantly editing the script. To understand how dangerous this biological glitch can be, look at the tragic, real-life case of Ronald Cotton. In 1984, a woman named Jennifer Thompson was brutally assaulted. During the terrifying attack, she made a conscious, active decision to study her attacker's face. She wanted to ensure he would be caught. Later, in a brightly lit police lineup, she pointed directly at Ronald Cotton. She was absolutely 100% certain he was the man. Her confident, unwavering memory sent an innocent person to prison for over a decade. But years later, advanced DNA evidence proved her completely wrong. Cotton was innocent. Another man had committed the crime. How does a highly motivated victim's memory fail so spectacularly? It comes down to the groundbreaking work of cognitive psychologists like Elizabeth Loftus. She proved that human memory is incredibly malleable and highly unreliable. When we recall an event, the brain can easily confuse deeply imagined details, leading questions from police or later information with the actual physical experience. Loftus demonstrated this beautifully in her famous Lost in the Mall study. She gave participants short narratives of childhood events, but secretly slipped in one completely fake story. A detailed account of the participant getting lost in a shopping mall as a young child and being rescued by an elderly woman. Shockingly, a quarter of the people didn't just believe the fake story. They actively started generating their own vivid details. They described the old woman's face. They remembered the exact panic they felt, all for an event that never happened. You don't store a memory in one neat file. Visuals are stored in one area of the cortex, emotions in the amygdala, sounds somewhere else entirely. When you try to remember, your brain has to scramble to stitch these scattered puzzle pieces together in real time. And if a piece is missing, it doesn't give you an error message. It seamlessly invents a highly logical detail to bridge the gap. It partially reconstructs the event. And it gets worse, much worse. The process of reshaping your own past happens every single time you try to remember it. In neuroscience, there is a fascinating mechanism called reconsolidation. For a long time, scientists believed that once a memory was formed, it was locked away in a neurological vault, safe, permanent, untouchable. But we now know that memory is actually fluid and highly vulnerable. Imagine opening a crucial text document on your computer. You read it, but while it is open on your screen, you accidentally hit a few keys. You change a word here, you delete a sentence there. Then you hit Save. The original document is gone forever. You have only saved the new, slightly altered version. This is exactly what your brain does. Every time you recall an event in your life, your brain opens the file. But it doesn't just read it. It updates it with your current mood, your new beliefs, and the context of the present moment. If you learned new, shocking information yesterday, your brain might unconsciously weave that new information into a 10-year-old memory. Then it hits Save. By the time you are an adult, you are not remembering your childhood. You are remembering the last version of it your brain saved. It is a copy of a copy of a copy. This constant altering perfectly explains some of the greatest historical mysteries and conflicting archives. Think about the sinking of the Titanic. When historians combed through the records, they found eyewitnesses, people who were standing right next to each other in the lifeboats, giving completely contradictory accounts. Some survivors swore the ship broke in half, while others insisted it sank completely intact. They weren't lying, but in the frantic days and weeks after the tragedy, they read sensationalized newspapers. They talked to other traumatized survivors. They heard rumors on the rescue ships. And every time their brain opened the memory file to talk about the horrifying night, it accidentally wove those outside rumors into their own visual facts. The eyewitness testimony became distorted by the very act of sharing it. The brain silently rewrote its own historical archive. So, why would human evolution do this to us? Why would nature build a brain that constantly distorts its own past? If we are the most advanced species on the planet, why do we have such an unreliable hard drive? Because a perfectly rigid memory isn't always a biological advantage. In fact, forgetting is a highly evolved feature, not a bug. There is a rare medical condition known as hyperthymesia. People with this condition can remember almost every single day of their lives in vivid detail. While society often portrays this as a superpower, it can actually be a heavy burden. The emotional sting of old arguments or embarrassments doesn't simply fade away into the background. They carry the immense weight of their entire history. Evolution didn't design your memory to be a flawless, objective historical archive. It designed your memory to be a survival simulator. Your brain uses the past purely as raw material to predict tomorrow. And to do that efficiently, it desperately needs to be flexible. It needs to be able to delete useless, outdated details. It needs to gently blur the sharp, paralyzing edges of extreme trauma and update old files with new survival tactics. The fact that your memory is malleable is the exact reason you can eventually heal from a broken heart. It is the reason humans have been able to survive unimaginable wars, devastating plagues, and profound mass migrations, and still wake up the next morning with the sheer will to rebuild society. If we felt the exact same raw terror of our worst days every time we remembered them, we would be entirely paralyzed. Instead, your brain gently reshapes the narrative. It softens the blow. It edits the script so you can survive the plot. So, what does this mean for you? Who are you really if the archive of your personal life is constantly shifting and updating? You are not a rigid database of unchangeable facts. You are a fluid, living, breathing story. The past is not a physical place you can ever truly visit again, because the version of you that lived it is gone, and the brain that recorded it has already moved on to the next chapter. You are not your memories. You are the story your brain keeps rewriting.